Congress officially launched a major round of hearings into the events of January 6th, 2021. Juneteenth for Trump supporters. The day when white people visited the Democracy Store and demanded to speak to the manager. And by the way, they're still arresting people for this. You may not know that, but they are. In fact, just today, they arrested a guy who's running for governor of Michigan because he also stormed the Capitol. Yeah, and you know that's definitely going to change the whole course of the election, because now we know he's going to win the Republican nomination. I mean, you can't do that. And this is a new experience for a lot of these white people. You know, all of a sudden they're finding out what it's like to be on the bad side of the police, and it turns out they do not like it one bit.
The January 6th defendants are being treated differently on a whole nother level. They are denied religious services, haircuts, shaving, the ability to trim their fingernails. Imagine a group of men being held in jail with no idea of when they're going to go to court, no ability to bail out, no ability to see their family.
If you're Peter Navarro, they will literally pull you off of a plane, shackle you, and throw you in the brig.
I wound up in leg irons. I wasn't allowed to call a lawyer, no food, no water, solitary confinement. Illegal aliens to Al-Qaeda terrorists were treated better than I was.
They actually followed him in the car to the airport to make a scene and to handcuff him. Why would they do that?
It actually puts an exclamation point on the fact that we have a two-tier justice system. If you're a Republican, you can't even lie to Congress or lie to an FBI agent, or they're coming after you.
You can't even lie to Congress or the FBI without them coming. You realize he's just stating the law, but in an angry voice. You can't hit pedestrians and drive away. You can't even sell another man's kidney on Craigslist. And if you steal your neighbor's dog and sell it back to them for the money, it's also not allowed. Is this America? Is this America? It is wild that Louis Gohmert over here is complaining about not being allowed to lie to Congress because he's in Congress. Why does he want people to lie to him? Why would you want that? I feel like he must have asked someone for their honest opinion at some point and then gotten it. Tell me the truth. Do I look like someone 3D printed Elmer Fudd? Wait, I changed my mind. Lie to me. Lie to me. But yeah, as you can see, many Trump supporters are saying that they're being oppressed, and they're just learning how tough the justice system can be. You know? I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you heard what she said. She's like, can you imagine a group of men who can't pay bail and can't see their family? Well, you don't have to imagine it. America's already got the largest population of them in the world. And just so we're clear, I'm glad the people who stormed the Capitol are being held accountable, but I don't take delight in the idea of them experiencing the shitty side of America's criminal justice system. Yeah, so Marjorie Taylor Greene, I hope you keep this exact speech ready for the next time black people in America are complaining about the exact same thing. You don't even have to change the words. You don't even have to change the words. It was wild that they've been treated like this for like 5 minutes, and all of a sudden they're like, it's a two-tier system. They're like, it's so hard being a Republican in this country. I was always waiting for them to go into like a white Negro spiritual. You know, it's just like, ooh, go to the Whole Foods. Ooh, my gluten intolerance is getting me. Anyway, conservatives are now learning that interactions with law enforcement don't always end well, which means they're going to have some hard conversations with their children.
As a Trump supporter in America, you already know that cops treat people like us differently.
We can be profiled and misjudged anytime, just trying to overthrow a free and fair election.
That's why it's time for us to have
the talk.
As a Trump supporter, it's important to remember that law enforcement is always out to get you. You could be targeted solely because of how you look, or what you chant, or who you're assaulting with a flagpole.
How many young and middle-aged men have already been arrested just because they tried to vote for Trump one too many times?
And then stormed the Capitol.
And then posted on Facebook for some reason.
And they'll use anything against you. Your skin color, your politics, evidence.
If you so much as think about overthrowing the government and then actually attempt to, there is nothing anyone can do to protect you.
Well, unless your husband is like on the Supreme Court.
Sure.
You know?
So first rule, always listen politely to the police. Don't freak out and call them bullies or fascists until after you're booked on Tucker Carlson.
The bad news is that if they do arrest you, you can expect the worst kind of abuse. They'll put you in handcuffs, take you to the station, and put you behind bars and then lock them. These are things no criminal should have to suffer. And now they're openly throwing around the word traitor?
Yeah, with a hard R.
You know, every time I see a young man being hassled by police for smearing feces on the walls of Nancy Pelosi's office, I think that could be our son.
He is a sweet boy, and we're proud of him. He is a proud boy.
So that's the way things are. And hopefully the next generation of conservatives won't have to have this talk.
Because there won't be elections.
Exactly.
You know, different people have different ideas about what happened on January 6th. You know, for many people, it was the day right-wing fanatics attacked America's democracy. For Trump supporters, it was a field trip where they got to meet their friends from the internet. But now, the committee says that it can prove that January 6th wasn't just a spontaneous riot by an angry mob. It was the climax of a long, coordinated plot by Donald Trump, which, I don't know about you, for me is shocking. No, because I didn't think Trump could coordinate anything in advance. The man can't even plan where a sentence should end. Like, I didn't think that would happen. But according to the committee, Trump planned to overthrow the election because he knew that he had lost. And the reason that we know he knew that he had lost is because now everyone around him is spilling the beans.
The committee relied on some of those closest to Donald Trump to make its case. His once loyal attorney general, who told investigators Trump's claims of a stolen election were bunk.
I told him that the stuff that his people were shoveling out to the public was bullshit. I mean, that the claims of fraud were bullshit. I thought, boy, if he really believes this stuff, he has, lost contact he's become detached from reality.
And the president's own daughter and senior advisor.
I respect Attorney General Barr. So I accepted what he was saying.
Hours after the hearing, Trump put out a statement saying his daughter, quote, had long since checked out and was only trying to be respectful to Bill Barr.
Wait, I'm sorry. Ivanka checked out? When was she checked in? Because for 4 years, it looked like she was just walking around trying to find her desk. When was she checked in? Checked out of what? This is like if Machine Gun Kelly said he was no longer pursuing a PhD in nuclear physics. When was that even happening? Was that a thing? But yeah, Trump's inner circle was well aware that the election did not go their way. And they told Trump, except for one person who had the liquid courage to say that Trump did win.
President Trump rejected the advice of his campaign experts on election night and instead followed the course recommended by an apparently inebriated Rudy Giuliani to just claim he won and insist that the vote counting stop.
Was there anyone in that conversation who, in your observation, had too much to drink?
Like Mayor Giuliani? In the mayor was definitely intoxicated.
Yeah, according to this former Trump aide, Rudy Giuliani was wasted on election night when he told Trump that the election was stolen from him. And I'm just curious about how you even know when Rudy Giuliani is drunk. No, because when a normal person is drunk, they say crazy things, they yell, they sweat a lot. So how does that work with Rudy? Does it work in reverse? Like, does he start talking normally? His hair dye sucks back into his hair? How does this work? And it actually says a lot about Trump that a whole team of sober advisors, his attorney general, his campaign manager, his daughter, who he wants to bang. Yeah, we haven't forgotten. They were all telling him, you lost this election, sir. But then Trump was like, yeah, whatever. Drunk vampire, what do you think? When you think about it, it actually makes sense that Trump would listen to a drunk person because that's the one time people probably sound like him. He's just like, what do you guys think we should do? And he's like, I'll tell you what I think we should do. Wow, there's something about this guy. He totally gets it. You get it. I get it. You get it. We get it. So the January 6th committee says that Trump started plotting months before the actual event, months before. And their proof that he got what he wanted is that he didn't try to stop the riot once it started. No, he didn't get on the phone with the Defense Department or call in the National Guard. It turns out it was actually Mike Pence who did that. Yeah, Mike Pence was basically the president for a few hours, which is why we have that law now banning water for being too spicy. And it would have been bad enough if Trump did nothing, but instead, he actively riled up the crowd even more.
In one piece of never-before-seen video of the attack, a rioter is shown reading Trump's tweet criticizing his vice president even as the Capitol was breached, and how it turned the crowd against Mike Pence.
Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. The U.S. demands the truth. Bring out Pence.
Yeah, not only did Trump not try to stop the riot, but while it was happening, he was tweeting out statements that were riling up the mob, which is not something you expect from a president. You know, that's something you expect from a guy on the edge of a Waffle House fight. It's like, yeah, that's right, he stole your fries. You should beat his ass, burn the whole store down. Yeah, I'll take your order in a second. I'm just trying to get this fight going, come on. It was wild that guy was reading the tweet. He's standing there in the insurrection. He's like, here's a message from Trump right now. You know what would have been funny, though? Is if that wasn't the only Trump tweet that guy read to the crowd to get them going.
Robert Pattinson should not take back Kristen Stewart. She cheated on him like a dog and will do it again. Sorry, losers and haters, but my IQ is one of the highest, and you all know it. Sorry, folks, I'm just not a fan of sharks. And don't worry, they will be around long after we are gone.
Yep, those rioters killed every shark that day. So the hearings showed Trump's team told him that he lost. He didn't do anything to stop the riots, and he actively added fuel to the fire while the Capitol building was being swarmed. But today, they released one of the most damning pieces of evidence proving Trump knew his election fraud claims were fake, which is that when he asked his supporters to donate money so that he could fight the fraud in court, he just took the money and ran.
Listen to what one of their senior investigators, Amanda Wick, said about what they discovered about the way Trump and his associates raised money.
The claims that the election was stolen were so successful. President Trump and his allies raised $250 million, nearly $100 million in the first week after the election. On November 9th, 2020, President Trump created a separate entity called the Save America PAC. Most of the money raised went to this newly created PAC, not to election-related litigation.
And what's important about this, Victor, it's not just that they were peddling the big lie through these emails, fundraising solicitations. They also weren't using that money for the purpose of trying to truly find election fraud or fight these court battles. That's evidence of fraud. The next question is, does the Department of Justice do anything with it?
Wait, what? Donald Trump conned his supporters? That is so predictable. But how are you shocked by this? I mean, the man is consistent, if nothing else. Honestly, if you got tricked by Trump scamming you, maybe your money deserves a better home. Yeah, and yes, I'm victim blaming. I don't care. I will say what impressed me about this whole thing was how fast it was this time. The second the election ended, Trump didn't wait around. He knew it was over, and then he just went full-on Nigerian prince. Yeah, just jumped in. Like his whole scam sounded like it was an email. He's just like, hello, my friend. I am the president of a very powerful country. Sadly, I am in need of money to save my people. Donate today, and your money will be used for the great fight, and definitely not so I can go to dinner with Kid Rock, huh? Send them money, please. Send it now. All of them money. Last week, we learned mostly about how Trump knew that he had lost. Then we learned about how Mike Pence almost got hanged. And today's session was all about how President Trump and his allies tried to pressure state officials to sign on to his various schemes for overturning the election. Everything from throwing out Biden votes, to creating slates of fake electors, to even eating the Constitution really fast before anyone could look up the election laws. And one of the people Trump depended on most in this pressure campaign was Rudy Giuliani, his personal lawyer and final boss in a Resident Evil game. Unfortunately, it seemed like no one wanted to take Rudy's calls.
Pennsylvania House Speaker Brian Cutler received daily voicemails from Trump's lawyers in the last week of November.
Mr. Speaker, this is Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis. We're calling you together because we'd like to discuss, obviously, the election. Hey, Brian, it's Rudy. I really have something important to call to your attention that I think really changes things.
Cutler felt that the outreach was inappropriate and asked his lawyers to tell Rudy Giuliani to stop calling, but Giuliani continued to reach out.
I understand that you don't want to talk to me now. I just want to bring some facts to your attention and talk to you as a fellow Republican.
Oh, wow, that's desperate. Yeah, Rudy made so many unanswered calls, the iPhone just started labeling him as spam. Yeah. And not just his calls, his body, it's 90% spam. And can we acknowledge what a fall this has been? Huh? This man went from being an American hero to now sounding like a telemarketer selling a coup. If you order now, I'll throw in that chair Abraham Lincoln is sitting on. Yeah. Hello? 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 And you know, this is just another example of how historic President Trump really was. Any other time in US history, if the president's lawyer called someone, they would take that call. But when Trump's vampire lawyer called people, everyone was like, tell him I'm not here. Yeah, tell him I went camping and I died. A bear ate my face. Tell him I'm not here. Also, not that I'm encouraging it, because I'm not. But if you are going to try and overturn an election, maybe don't leave voicemails. It's a paper trail. Also, it's 2022. Text. Who leaves voicemails? You realize how thirsty you're coming off? Hey, it's me again. Come on, Rudy. Just hit him with a quick late night, you up for subverting democracy? Eggplant emoji, red hat emoji, vampire emoji. Come on, Rudy. Keep up with the times. Let's talk about the United States Secret Service. The people who wore one tiny earphone before AirPods were cool. Recently, the Secret Service has been all over the news because the January 6th committee wants to know what information they have about President Trump's actions on the day his fans went tailgating in Nancy Pelosi's office. So the committee told the Secret Service, give us all the text messages that you guys were sending that day. But the Secret Service said this.
The Secret Service says it cannot recover the deleted text messages from January 5th and 6th of last year. The Washington Post is reporting the agency has no new text to provide to Congress and that any other messages exchanged between agents around the time of the attack were purged.
The Secret Service claims these messages were erased as part of a device replacement program, adding any insinuation that the Secret Service maliciously deleted text messages following a request is false.
Those Secret Service texts are gone, gone, gone. Gone. Like, really not ever to be recovered.
Wow. This is so sad. The Secret Service lost all the texts from January 6th because they were doing a device replacement program. What a terrible thing. Oh. Why do I feel like this is the same kind of device replacement program you do when your partner asks you to explain where you were the other night? Yeah, I was due for upgrade because of what me and Keisha were up to, so I had to, Apple called me and And you know, it's interesting how they're saying once you delete a text, there's no way to retrieve it. Yeah, once they delete a text, it's gone. Because best believe, if any of us lost a text, the Secret Service would find it. Yeah, they would find the shit out of it. You'd be like, oh, I deleted it. They'd be like, give me that phone. They'd be like, so this is what you were doing with Keisha. Shit. And look, I know many people are angry, saying like, I can't believe the Secret Service isn't handing over these texts. Well, but I don't know, maybe it's because I'm South African. I just assumed this would happen. Yeah, that's the Secret Service. That's their job, right? To keep secrets. In fact, if they give you the text, you should fire them, snitch. The real question we should be asking is, why are they even texting? Imagine this, the Capitol was being overrun by a mob of Facebook comments come to life. People are trying to hang the vice president and the Secret Service is texting? Guys, what is this thing for? telling me all that shit was happening and someone's using text just like, hey guys, just wanted to warn you, the vice president is in Asia. Sorry, autocorrect, I meant danger. The vice president is in danger, send back, never mind, the problem solved itself. And I know a lot of people think that this was a huge conspiracy, I do. You know, people say that this is proof that the Secret Service was in on the Capitol plot, but it could also be a much simpler answer. You know, maybe they just don't want people to see the texts that they were sending about their boss. Yeah. Like, I know I wouldn't want that. Can you imagine being at the congressional hearing and Liz Cheney's like, so Agent Johnson, what did you mean when you texted President poop emoji is baby crying emoji in car emoji? Be like, I'd rather go to jail, ma'am. So, it turns out the surprise witness today was Cassidy Hutchinson, a top aide to Donald Trump's chief of staff, which means she was often in the room where it happens, the room where it happens. The it was overthrowing democracy. Now, Hutchinson had a lot of first-hand knowledge of what Trump was doing from the moment that he lost the election all the way through January 6th. And one of the stories she told was how Trump lost his shit when he found out his attorney general wasn't going along with his lies about the election.
I remember hearing noise coming from down the hallway. I left the office and went down to the dining room, and I noticed that the door was propped open and the valet was inside the dining room changing the tablecloth off of the dining room table. He motioned for me to come in and then pointed towards the front of the room near the fireplace mantle and the TV, where I first noticed there was ketchup dripping down the wall and there's a shattered porcelain plate on the floor. The valet had articulated that the president was extremely angry at the Attorney General's AP interview and had thrown his lunch against the wall.
And Ms. Hutchinson, was this the only instance that you are aware of where the president threw dishes?
It's not.
And are there other instances in the dining room that you recall where he expressed his anger?
There were several times throughout my tenure with the Chief of Staff that I was aware of him either throwing dishes or flipping the tablecloth to let all the contents of the table go onto the floor.
Yeah, I know. I too was shocked to hear that Trump threw any of his food away. Because, I mean, let's be honest, this guy has taken more selfies with food than he has with some of his kids, right? It's probably the reason Eric dresses up as a hot dog just to get a hug. Do you love me now, Dad? Do you love me? You're the son I always wanted, Oscar Mayer, always wanted. And you heard what she said. This wasn't a one-time thing. Trump was constantly throwing food tantrums. But what's interesting is she didn't say flipping the table, she said flipping the tablecloth. So either Trump was an amateur magician, or he wasn't strong enough to flip a table. So he just did the tablecloth. Instead, he was like, And you know, if this happened regularly, it must have sucked for all the people who work in the White House. You know, all the staff who have to clean up after him, the people who made the food and the dishes. Can you imagine how traumatizing this must have been for the dishes? Everybody, welcome to the White House. Be our guest. Be our guest. Oh, what is happening? You just killed Mrs. Potts. Chip, don't look now. Your mother is in pieces. She has been murdered. Oh my God, this man is worse than the beast. We should go back. At least the beast didn't try to have sex with the feather duster. Straight to DVD. Now, it turns out that wasn't the only Trump tantrum that Hutchinson testified about, because she also said that on January 6th, as the Trump mob was marching towards the Capitol, Trump wanted to lead them to the Capitol himself, right? But when Secret Service agent Bobby Engel refused the president's request for safety, this happened.
The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now." To which Bobby responded, "Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing." The president reached up towards towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Renato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
God damn, that is insane. Trump fighting to take control of the president's car like he's a bad guy in an action movie, only he's the president and this is real life? I mean, you gotta admit though, fighting your own Secret Service agent is kind of genius on Trump's part, right? No, because he's hitting the one person who can't hit back. Yeah, I mean, they can punch back, but then they've got to jump in front of their own punch, you know? Just like, take that! No! Did you feel that one, Rudy? You know, this whole thing shows you how lazy Trump is. The Capitol is like 2 miles away. Everyone else walked there. But Trump was like, okay, I could walk there, I could walk. Or I could try steal a car from the Secret Service. Which one is it? And not to victim blame, but this is on the Secret Service, right? You had 4 years to Trump-proof that vehicle. You knew who you were dealing with. There should have been a toy steering wheel in the passenger seat the whole time. Just let him think he's driving and go back to the West Wing anyways. And you know, beyond Trump, this story just proves once and for all that sitting in the backseat is always a position of weakness. It doesn't matter what the real power dynamics are. No one in the backseat gets their way. Because I mean, he's lunging at them like, I'm the f***ing president. And they're like, you're in the backseat, bitch, shut up. He's like, nah. Well, I'm going to put my window down. So there were many funny and disturbing moments in today's testimony, but the most damning part of today was when Hutchinson revealed that when President Trump was told that some of the mob had weapons, he instructed security to take down metal detectors and let the mob in.
I was in the vicinity of a conversation where I overheard the president say something to the effect of, you know, I don't effing care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Take the effing mags away. Let my people in. They can march to the Capitol from here. Let the people in. Take the effing mags away.
Yeah. Apparently Trump wanted the metal detectors removed so that his supporters with guns could march to the Capitol. Yeah. So I guess he didn't necessarily want to hang Mike Pence. He wanted to also give him the option of a firing squad. So he's pro-choice. This is good to know. It's good to know. After weeks of televised hearings, we're learning a lot about what happened on January 6th and the days that led up to it. We learned that Donald Trump was told by his closest advisors that the election wasn't stolen. We also learned that he set up a fake election defense fund that took millions of dollars from his supporters. We also learned that he knew his crowd was armed that day and still sent them to the Capitol anyway. And after all of this, guys, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to think this Donald Trump guy might be bad news. I'm seeing like 1 or 2 red flags here. And I'm not the only one. Because remember how we learned in those hearings about how Trump tried to get Mike Pence to single-handedly toss out the election results? You remember that part? Yeah? Well, a bipartisan group of senators has decided that shit should never happen again.
Here in Washington, a bipartisan group of senators have cut a deal that would make it much tougher to pull off a repeat of what former President Trump tried to do, that effort to pressure his vice president into overturning the election. One measure would reform the Electoral Count Act to make it clear that the VP's job is, quote, solely ministerial, and that he or she does not have any power solely to determine, accept, reject, or otherwise adjudicate disputes over electors.
Wow, this is big. This is big. Senators from both parties have agreed to amend the Electoral Count Act of 1887 to make it clear once and for all that the VP cannot just toss out the election results. Which, yes, is something everyone in America already knew except for one guy. You know? It's kind of like when in kindergarten the teacher makes an announcement to the whole class, but was clearly directed at one kid. You know, it's like, Okay, class, remember, we don't poop on the toilet, we poop in the toilet. That's for everyone to understand, okay, Donald? It was obvious to everyone else that the vice president can't just throw out the election results. That would make no sense. Why would you give so much power to someone who's otherwise totally powerless? Huh? It would be like handing over control of America's drones to whichever kid wins the national spelling bee. It's what the founders wanted. But either way, this is a big deal. And it's also a good reminder for America that if an old-ass law doesn't make sense anymore, you can just change that shit. Right? And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's because people in the day were stupid. No, people back in the day were smart as hell. All right? They studied the classics. They knew how to write in cursive. They wore top hats, all the signs of an intelligent person. But they wrote the laws that made sense for their time. Huh? Yeah, they didn't need to spell this out because they didn't have a Donald Trump. So that law's changed. The vice president can't just overturn the election. And knowing America, and whoever writes this story, what's going to happen is Donald Trump's going to get all his people to become the electors in each state. They're going to ignore the voters' rights, and they're going to go, these are the votes, and then it's going to come to Kamala Harris and be like, Kamala, flip the thing. She's like, meh. But it looks like overturning the next election might be the least of Donald Trump's worries, because after all the facts that the committee has exposed about his last overturning, the Justice Department might be paying Donald a visit.
The spotlight on the Justice Department's investigation is growing. Attorney General Merrick Garland making it clear he will hold accountable every person who is criminally responsible.
No person is above the law in this country. Nothing stops us. Even a former president. I don't know how to, maybe I'll say that again. No person is above the law in this country. I can't say anything more clearly than that.
I've never seen that side of Merrick Garland. It looked like he was about to cut a bitch. Did you see what he did there? Yeah, he turned into Samuel L. Jackson for a second. He's like, no person is above the... What about the American? He's like, what part of no person don't you understand, motherfucker? I said no person. Now, what's interesting about the story is that some Democrats are actually mad at Merrick Garland because they think he doesn't really want to prosecute Trump. All right? They say he's slow rolling, he's trying to hide behind things, but I'll be honest, I get it. I think the man is in a tough spot here. Think about it. Even if Trump is definitely guilty, can you imagine what would happen if he gets sent to prison? The country would explode. Yeah, you thought January 6th was bad? Huh? Trump supporters would be storming everything if he got arrested. The Capitol, the White House, the Supreme Court. The only place that would be safe from them is libraries. They'd be like, don't go in there, they got history books. But it turns out Merrick Garland isn't even Trump's only problem, because right now he's being investigated by everyone, right? Congress, the states of New York, a district attorney in Georgia, the men in black, and I get it. No, human beings don't just look like this. It doesn't make sense. That's not a human thing. So Trump looks like he's in a tough spot right now. But if there's one thing we know about Donald Trump, it's that getting out of tough spots is his speciality. He can get out of anything. Criminal cases, lawsuits, marriages, other marriages. And apparently Trump thinks he's found an ingenious way to get out of his current troubles.
It is sounding more likely that an announcement from former President Trump about a 2024 election bid is more of a matter of when and not an if. But it's not just about avenging a loss. 4 people with knowledge of the situation tell Rolling Stone magazine that mounting legal issues are a motivating factor for Trump's desire to retake the Oval Office. According to the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel, a sitting president cannot be charged with a federal crime.
Yeah. So it turns out some people are above the law. And it's crazy that Trump might run for president so that he doesn't go to jail. Yeah, it's almost wild that Donald Trump is the only person who runs for president but has no interest in being president. The first time he did it to try and drum up ratings for The Apprentice, and now he's going to run just to stay out of jail. Like his campaign slogan is probably going to be Trump 2024, I can't do time. I actually think it would make the campaign more fun. Yeah, can you imagine if Trump's running for president while he's running from the law? At every rally, he's just like, no child should ever learn pronouns or what. Oh shit, the cops are here. Rudy, open the sewer gate. You'll never get me. Pow, 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 pow. Pow, pow. So, that's the end of the first season of the January 6th committee. And it ends with the possibility of Trump going to prison. And I'm sure right now, wherever he is, the man is probably terrified. He's just like, what do I do? Melania, I can't go to prison. How am I going to survive? Don't worry, Donald. I'll give you tips. I've been a prisoner for 20 years. So, the January 6 hearings finally came to a close, with the committee putting on a 2-hour primetime show, which they hoped would finally convince the nation that President Trump was #problematic. And because this was the last episode, they did not hold back.
The primetime finale for the January 6th committee lived up to its billing. The committee presenting what may be its most damning evidence to date, highlighting the 187 minutes between President Trump telling his supporters to march to the Capitol and when he finally told them to go home. Trump spent much of that time at the White House watching the violent assault unfold on TV and refusing to publicly condemn it or call off the mob.
For hours, Trump ignored pleas by his aides, members of Congress, and even his own daughter to call off the violence as it unfolded before his eyes.
The primetime event painted the clearest picture yet of how former President Trump waited until it was clear that his supporters would not be able to stop the certification of the vote before he made any attempt to call off the angry mob.
As he was gathering his things in the dining room to leave, President Trump reflected on the day's events with a White House employee. President Trump said nothing to the employee about the attack. He said only, quote, "Mike Pence let me down."
Wow. Trump watched everything that happened on January 6th, and his biggest problem is that Mike Pence let him down by, I guess, not being hanged? He said he was my ride or die, but when I asked him to die, he wouldn't do it. What a loser. But yeah, the main takeaway from this hearing is not only did Trump do nothing through 3 hours of the best TV he watched all year, but he only finally spoke out once it was clear that the coup had failed. And everyone knows that move, right? When you act too late as if you wanted to do it, but you don't. It's like that thing you do when you go out with your friends. You know, you'd be like, oh, let me grab the check. It's like, we left the restaurant 20 minutes ago. Oh, well, too bad. Next time, I got you. Now, I mean, if you want to be really generous, you could say the reason Trump didn't do anything on January 6th is because maybe he was in shock, right? I mean, we've all tweeted crazy things, but if I tweeted, I'd kill for a McRib, and then my followers burned down McDonald's, I wouldn't know what to do as well. But it turns out that even on January 7th, Trump still had to be forced, kicking and screaming, into condemning the MAGA mob and conceding the election. And the only reason we know this is because the committee released the outtakes of his speech, and they are hilarious.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack yesterday, and to those who broke the law, you will pay. You do not represent our movement. You do not represent our country. And if you broke the law, you can't say that. I'm not going. I already said you will pay. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defied the seat of justice. It's defiled, right? See, I can't see it very well. Okay, I'll do this. I'm going to do this. Let's go. But this election is now over. Congress has certified the results. I don't want to say the election's over. I just want to say Congress has certified the results without saying the election's over, okay?
But Congress is certified. Now Congress is
Yeah, right.
Now Congress
I didn't say over, so let me see. Go to the paragraph before. Okay? I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack yesterday. Yesterday is a hard word for me. Good. Take the word yesterday, because it doesn't work with the heinous attack on our country. Say on our country. Want to say that?
No, keep it.
My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote.
I'm not going to lie. I'm torn on this. I'm torn. Because yes, him refusing to say the election is over, that's damning as hell, all right? But the rest of the stuff, I mean, it just seems like someone who's struggling to read, you know? No, I get it. It can happen to you. You know, it can happen. Sometimes you're trying to work with the camera and I understand that, But what I will say is really funny is how he says he can't say yesterday, but says yesterday. He's like, yesterday, I can't say yesterday. Yesterday's really hard. Nobody can say yesterday. What is that word? See, I'll try to say it now. Yesterday. You see, you can't say yesterday. You can't say. What was that thing, by the way? That was funny. I've never seen him do that. It's like a sassy Trump. But really, the parts of the clip where Trump refuses to say the election is over, that is bad, right? And very optimistic. Because say what you want about the man, he does not give up. If he was a football coach, he'd be in the locker room like, okay, team, we lost by 30 points, and the other team has already gone home, which means the end zone is completely unguarded. Time to run the board, fellas. Get in there like yesterday. I said it! I said the word! Now, the committee didn't just expose the president for throwing a Trump. No, that's hard. Can we change it, guys? That's hard. Trump. They also took a moment to reveal that a lot of the bravado that we've seen from far-right Republican lawmakers wasn't actually how they felt while the patriots were ransacking the Capitol. And one person who really got dragged was Missouri Senator and pro-storming the Capitol Republican, Josh Hawley.
The committee highlighting Missouri Senator Josh Hawley's actions on January 6th as he entered the Capitol.
As you can see in this photo, he raised his fist in solidarity with the protesters. Later that day, Senator Hawley fled after those protesters he helped to rile up stormed the Capitol. See for yourself.
The committee room erupting in laughter, watching Hawley run.
Okay, I'm sorry, but the January 6th committee should be ashamed of itself. They had no reason to show this. They just wanted to embarrass a senator of the United States. Just wanted to embarrass the man. Huh? Why? Just because he ran away like a little bitch? I mean, what did he do? Yeah, he raised his fist and he egged the crowd on, but is that a reason to show him pissing his pants on national television? Huh? Is it a crime to be crying and running away from the mob that you riled up? Oh, he's such a bitch ass. Let me tell you something. That bitch ass thought the mob was gonna kill him. Is that funny to you? This grown man running on his little gazelle legs? I don't wanna die. You think that's funny? Grow up. So sadly, that's it for season 1 of the January 6 hearings. But good news. It's already been renewed for season 2 that drops in September. Yeah. And like any good series, they're leaving us with some major cliffhangers. Will they find the Secret Service deleted text messages? Will Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger finally realize the love they've been looking for has been right in front of them this whole time? Will we find out that Steve Bannon was the source of monkeypox? Either way, we'll be waiting with bated breath.